Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing: when you wake up tomorrow, 2026 will be waiting for you. It will be the same year it's always been, but here's the truth: if you don't change, nothing will change. Most people drift, letting life decide their story. But a few, they do something different. They follow habits so powerful that the year doesn't just pass, it transforms. Today, I'm going to give you 7 habits. Follow them, and 2026 won't just be a year, it will be the year everything changes for you. The first habit is owning your morning. Imagine the world outside still wrapped in darkness, the streets silent, the hum of life paused. In that quiet, there is a hidden power waiting for you, a power that no one else can claim. It is in these hours that the first choices of your day are made, choices that ripple through every moment that follows. Most people surrender this time to sleep, scrolling, or distraction. But when you rise with intention, even before the sun greets the horizon, you declare that your life is not a series of accidents. You become the architect of your own rhythm, setting a pace that no chaos or noise can unbalance. There is something sacred about taking ownership of these early hours. It is the closest you will get to a clean slate, a space untouched by demands, complaints, or the expectations of others. The mind is like soft clay in these moments, ready to be shaped by thought, intention, and deliberate action. If you waste it, it will harden into patterns that pull you into mediocrity. But if you guide it, if you direct it with focus and care, it will carry you through challenges with an ease that surprises even yourself. The morning is not just a time of day. It is a secret laboratory of transformation, a place where your smallest choices create the most enduring outcomes. Owning your morning begins with presence. To rise and move through the motions without awareness is to hand your life to habit, to autopilot. Instead, feel each breath, notice the stillness, and step into the day with mindfulness. This is not about rigid routines or perfect discipline. It is about claiming clarity before the world's noise invades. When you move with consciousness, even a simple act like making your bed or drinking water becomes a declaration. I am awake, I am aware, I am here for myself. These small gestures accumulate, creating an invisible armor of confidence and control that carries you through decisions, interruptions, and pressures later on. There is also a subtle magic in being alone with your own thoughts while the world sleeps. Ideas that seem impossible during the chaos of the afternoon rise effortlessly in these quiet hours. Your mind whispers solutions that the noise of life would normally drown out. You notice connections, patterns, and priorities that others miss. If you treat these moments with respect, if you give them space to grow, you will begin to move through your day with a clarity that feels almost supernatural. This is why some of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and leaders insisted on early mornings. They discovered the clarity and direction that sleep and darkness protect. Physical movement in the morning is another dimension of ownership. When you stretch, walk, or exercise, your body sends signals to your mind: I am awake, I am ready. Energy flows more freely when the body is honored and engaged first. The act of moving in stillness is not about punishment or obligation. It is a conversation between intention and action, a way of reminding yourself that your life is your responsibility and every choice matters. Even 10 minutes of mindful movement can shift the weight of your entire day, giving you momentum that is hard to stop. Beyond movement, owning your morning requires guarding it fiercely. The phone, the notifications, the endless pull of other people's agendas, these are all intrusions that erode the power of your early hours. Protecting this time is not selfish, it is strategic. It is the equivalent of planting a seed in fertile soil. If the seed is trampled immediately, it will not grow. But if you nurture it with attention, care, and respect, it becomes a tree that supports your entire life. Guarding your morning is not about isolation, it is about giving yourself the foundation to meet the world fully prepared. Finally, the true essence of owning your morning lies in intention combined with action. It is not enough to wake early or move, you must direct your energy toward the person you intend to become. Set a small, deliberate action that aligns with your values, a page of reading, a journal entry, a plan for the day, and honor it. Each morning you act with purpose, you build a rhythm that no setback can completely disrupt. Momentum begins in silence, in small victories that seem invisible to the world, but monumental to your future self. In claiming these early hours, you are quietly rewriting your story day by day, choice by choice. The second habit is speak less, do more. Words are easy. They flow from the lips before thought, like leaves scattered by the wind, but actions are heavy, rooted, and lasting. Think of the life you want as a garden. Every word you speak without intention is a seed scattered randomly. Some may grow, most will be weeds. But when you act deliberately, with hands in the soil, planting with care, nurturing each step, the garden begins to take shape. Talking about your goals, announcing them to everyone around you, often becomes a way to feel accomplished without actually creating results. True power lies in the work you do quietly, out of sight, where no applause follows, only progress. When you choose to act instead of speak, you reclaim control over your own story. Each action becomes a statement, louder than any speech could ever be. People often underestimate how much influence is carried in consistent effort. The world may not notice immediately, but it observes outcomes. Success is a reflection of habits, not promises. Think of a river cutting through rock, not through noise or complaint, but through relentless, invisible pressure applied over time. Every small, focused effort shapes your life silently, carving pathways others cannot see until the results appear. Silence also protects your focus. Every conversation, every explanation, every repeated claim about your plans is a fragment of your attention leaking away. The mind is not limitless. Every word expended is energy lost, energy that could be building your skills, sharpening your decisions, or constructing the future you dream of. To do more, you must speak less. Not because words are bad, but because misplaced words dilute intention. Imagine carrying water in a sieve. The more you talk unnecessarily, the more your energy drains, leaving less for the meaningful work that truly moves the needle. The act of doing over-talking is also a test of integrity. When nobody is watching, when the applause is absent, and the temptation to justify your inaction is strong, action alone keeps you honest. Words can decorate a room, but actions furnish it. People may admire the promises, but they respect the results. There is a subtle confidence that grows in doing quietly. You begin to rely on yourself, to trust your own discipline, and you no longer seek validation in applause or approval. That independence becomes your foundation, a quiet strength that others sense, even if they cannot name it. Doing more than you speak also changes your relationship with failure. When the world only hears your words, every misstep feels public, and every delay feels shameful. But when you act in silence, failure becomes feedback instead of judgment. You learn, adjust, and improve without the burden of having already announced your intentions. The process becomes sacred, a laboratory of growth where mistakes are tools, not marks against your character. This is where transformation hides, in the unobserved, uncelebrated effort that compounds quietly over time. Every action you take without announcing it builds credibility, first with yourself, then with the world. There is a magnetic quality in competence performed silently. People are drawn to those whose results speak for them. They notice the consistency, the calm assurance, the progress that cannot be faked. By acting instead of talking, you create a reality where your life narrates itself, a narrative no words could ever capture. Your impact becomes undeniable, not because of who you claim to be, but because of what you have demonstrably created. Finally, doing more than you speak cultivates a life of substance over noise. It reshapes how you measure worth, shifting it from recognition to mastery, from attention to achievement. Each silent step compounds into momentum, each discrete effort a brick in the foundation of your destiny. The quiet diligence of today becomes the unmistakable transformation of tomorrow. By choosing action over announcement, you step into a rhythm where your potential is no longer imagined. It is lived, moment by moment, choice by choice, until the world cannot help but witness the results you have quietly forged. The third habit is protecting your mind like gold. Imagine your mind as a room with walls made of sunlight, fragile yet radiant, and every thought that enters either strengthens the walls or cracks them. Most people leave the doors wide open, allowing worry, comparison, and doubt to wander in freely. They let every negative headline, every careless comment, every fear-based whisper of the world take root inside. But your mind is the soil in which the life you want will grow. If you do not guard it, you will sow weeds instead of seeds. What you feed here is what blooms there in every action, every decision, every moment that shapes your year. The equality of your thoughts is invisible, yet it carries more weight than any external circumstance. You can have a perfect plan, a clear goal, and unmatched talent, but if your mind is constantly battling anxiety, resentment, or fear, the results will falter. Protecting your mind is not about ignoring reality, it is about curating what you allow to take root. Imagine walking through a forest and carefully choosing only the healthiest saplings to nurture, letting the rotten branches fall away. The same care applied to your inner world creates space for clarity, creativity, and resilience to grow. This habit begins with awareness. Notice the moments when your thoughts turn against you. The replaying of mistakes, the imagining of failure, the endless what-ifs that drain energy before the day even begins. Recognize that these are choices, not inevitabilities. You are not a passive witness to your mind, you are its gardener. When you see destructive thoughts arise, treat them like intruders, not friends. Challenge them, replace them, or let them pass without attention. The mind, like any tool, will reflect the focus you give it. What you practice in silence becomes visible in the life you live. There is also immense power in filling your mind intentionally. Thoughts are like bricks, each one builds a structure. When you feed courage, gratitude, curiosity, and insight, the walls of your mind grow stronger, taller, and more resilient. Reading, reflecting, journaling, or even quietly observing the world with awareness becomes a form of nourishment. These practices are small yet cumulative. Like drops of water filling a reservoir, they shape your capacity to handle pressure, make decisions, and move through challenges without being pulled off course. Protecting your mind is closely tied to the company you keep. Conversations, media, and influences are like streams flowing into the reservoir of your thoughts. Polluted streams will muddy the water, clouding judgment and dampening energy. Select what you allow to reach your mind as carefully as a jeweler selecting stones. Seek voices that challenge you constructively, that expand your perspective without overwhelming it, that inspire action rather than feeding fear. When you curate your mental diet, the clarity you gain will feel like sunlight breaking through clouds, and suddenly the path forward becomes unmistakably visible. Emotional discipline is another layer of protection. The mind is not separate from feeling. Thoughts and emotions are intertwined, feeding each other in endless loops. Allowing anger, envy, or despair to dominate is like leaving your gates open in a storm. Destruction seeps in quietly but relentlessly. Observing your emotions without letting them dictate your actions is a muscle. It grows stronger each time you notice a thought or feeling, acknowledge it, and then choose a deliberate response. This strength transforms ordinary days into platforms of power, because the mind that is saint, it cannot be easily shaken. Finally, protecting your mind like gold is about long-term vision, not momentary comfort. Every distraction resisted, every negative thought refused entry, every moment spent nurturing clarity is an investment. Over weeks and months, the payoff is invisible yet undeniable. Sharper decisions, calmer presence, greater creativity, and an ability to navigate chaos without losing direction. The mind becomes not a battlefield, but a sanctuary, a place where ideas flourish, focus deepens, and the life you desire begins to take shape. When you guard it carefully, you realize that the richest wealth in 2026 will not be measured in money, connections, or accolades, but in the strength, clarity, and peace you carry within yourself. The fourth habit is saying no to the ordinary. Most of life is offered to us in routine, in comfort, in patterns so familiar that we barely notice the walls closing in and around us. We settle into the predictable because it feels safe, because the unknown whispers fears we are not ready to face. But safety is a cage disguised as a pillow. Growth, progress, and transformation always live beyond the familiar, in spaces that make your heart beat faster, that make your mind question, can I really do this? Saying no to the ordinary is a choice to step into the uncomfortable, to meet life on your own terms rather than drift with the tide. The ordinary whispers in subtle ways. It shows up as just enough, as maybe tomorrow, as endless. Small compromises that gradually shrink your vision. You tell yourself the familiar routine is fine, that dreams can wait, that risk is dangerous. But the truth is that the human spirit was not made for settling. Every great achievement, every story that makes the heart rise, begins when someone refused to accept the easy path. Refusing the ordinary is not about rebellion. It is about listening to the quiet, insistent voice inside that knows there is more waiting. A life that can be extraordinary if you are willing to walk toward it. Saying no to the ordinary requires courage in its purest form. It means facing discomfort without turning back, staring at fear without flinching. Comfort feels like a warm blanket, but it suffocates potential. Growth demands stretching muscles we forget we have, stepping into uncertainty while everyone else clings to the familiar. It is a subtle war waged within, where you argue with your own excuses and fears until action becomes stronger than hesitation. Each time you push past the familiar, you expand the borders of possibility, proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagined. The path beyond the ordinary is not glamorous. It is filled with silent mornings, unexpected challenges, and decisions that feel heavier because they matter more. It demands focus, clarity, and relentless attention to the choices that shape your life. Ordinary life is like walking along a well-trodden path where every step is safe and predictable. Extraordinary life is like carving a trail through uncharted forests. Messy, demanding, sometimes frightening. But each step forward leaves a mark. Each choice shapes your world in a way the ordinary never could. Refusing the ordinary also teaches you to value your time and attention. The familiar distracts with its comfort, filling hours with easy entertainment, shallow work, and fleeting pleasures that leave you hollow at the end of the day. When you reject what is safe but unfulfilling, you reclaim hours, energy, and mental space to invest in what truly matters: your growth, your vision, your unique contribution. Ordinary life is seductive because it seems effortless, but the effort to refuse it, to choose challenge over ease, is what distinguishes those who live meaningfully from those who simply exist. Saying no to the ordinary is also an invitation to creativity and resourcefulness. The moment you step away from what is expected, you are forced to think differently, to explore solutions that are not obvious, to see opportunities that others overlook. It is in the discomfort of unfamiliarity that new ideas are born, where innovation takes root, where your instincts sharpen. The ordinary never asks for imagination. It never requires courage. But beyond its borders, every decision, every risk, every action becomes a teacher, showing you who you are capable of becoming. Finally, rejecting the ordinary is a declaration of self-respect. It is a promise to yourself that you will not tell, I have a life defined by habit, by default, by the quiet resignation that so many accept. It is a choice to honor your potential, to acknowledge that the world offers more than repetition, and that your own heart knows it. Every time you say no to the easy, to the routine, to the familiar, you reinforce a deeper truth, that you are not here to drift, to settle, or to shrink. You are here to rise, to stretch, to create a life that is fully alive. And in that refusal, the ordinary loses its grip, and you begin to step into a world that truly belongs to you. The fifth habit is mastering your emotions. Most people live as though their feelings are accidents, like storms that sweep in without warning, leaving chaos behind. But emotions are not random, they are signals, reflections of what we value, what we fear, and what we have yet to understand about ourselves. When you let them control your actions, life becomes reactive, a series of impulses and regrets. Mastery does not mean suppression or denial. It means recognizing the fire within, understanding its patterns, and learning to channel its energy rather than letting it consume you. Emotions have a strange power. They can both lift and destroy with equal intensity. A single word of praise can spark confidence, while a careless glance can shatter calm. Most of us spend too much time blaming circumstances, other people, or events for how we feel. But the truth is that the mind and heart are a partnership, and your response to any situation determines whether the moment strengthens you or drains you. By observing your emotions without surrendering to them, you gain a vantage point few ever experience. The awareness that life is always happening through you, not to you. Anger, fear, envy, and doubt are not enemies, they are teachers. They signal where your boundaries lie, where your attachments are, where growth is waiting. The challenge is not to eliminate them, but to meet them with discipline and insight. When you acknowledge fear without letting it paralyze you, it becomes a compass pointing toward courage. When you feel anger but choose action over reaction, it becomes fuel for change instead of destruction. Mastery of emotions is the quiet power that lets you turn the raw, unrefined energy of life into something constructive, a steady current rather than a violent wave. Calmness is not passive, it is a decision. It is a declaration that you will not let temporary turbulence dictate long-term direction. Imagine a lake in the middle of a storm. The wind may toss the surface, but deep down the water remains still, holding the reflection of the sky. Your mind can be that lake. Even in chaos, you can find a layer of clarity that allows you to see the next step, hear the subtle truths, and act with intention rather than impulse. Emotional mastery is this depth of presence, a steadiness that others sense even if they cannot name it. This habit is cultivated through consistent practice, through small moments of choice repeated until they become instinct. Every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you breathe through frustration, every time you choose understanding over resentment, you strengthen an invisible muscle. It is not easy, because life will always offer reasons to lose balance, but the muscle grows with every challenge, and over time, you begin to operate from a place of intention rather than reaction. What once felt like weakness becomes your most reliable form of power. Mastering your emotions reshapes your entire relationship with the world. You begin to notice patterns, to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to maintain clarity when most are clouded by panic or doubt. Your decisions gain weight, your actions gain precision, and your presence becomes magnetic because you are no longer dictated by fleeting feelings. In learning to navigate your inner landscape, you discover a freedom few ever experience. The freedom to act with purpose, to respond with wisdom, and to live in alignment with your values, no matter what storms may come. The sixth habit is investing in yourself daily. Most people spend their lives pouring energy into jobs, responsibilities, and the lives of others, while neglecting the one person who will be with them through every challenge, every victory, every quiet moment, themselves. Personal growth is not a luxury, it is the foundation upon which every achievement, every meaningful connection, and every sense of fulfillment is built. When you commit to learning, reflecting, and strengthening yourself, you create a reservoir of skills, knowledge, and resilience that compounds silently, shaping your life in ways that no external circumstance can match. Investing in yourself begins with small, intentional choices repeated consistently. Reading a single page, writing a few lines, learning a new concept, or dedicating minutes to reflection might feel insignificant in isolation. Yet each act is a deposit into a personal bank that pays dividends you cannot immediately see. Life has a way of testing our capacity, and the person who has quietly built knowledge, discipline, and clarity will navigate storms with a confidence that seems effortless to others. The key is patience, the understanding that growth is a process, invisible at first, yet unstoppable over time. This habit requires self-respect as much as discipline. To invest in yourself, you must value your time and your potential. Every hour wasted on distraction is an hour not spent developing the person you aspire to be. It is not about rigid schedules or perfection. It is about choosing to prioritize your growth even when the world screams for your attention in other directions. Investing in yourself is like tending a tree. The care you give now may not produce immediate fruit, but the roots you strengthen today will support every branch, every leaf, and every harvest tomorrow. Physical well-being is a crucial part of this investment. The body is the VE, cell through which life flows, and if it is neglected, even the sharpest mind and clearest purpose will be limited. Movement, nutrition, and rest are not chores, they are gifts you give yourself, tools that allow energy, focus, and endurance to thrive. Treating your body with respect signals to your mind that you are serious about your potential. When the vessel is strong, the mind can reach further, imagine bigger, and act with sustained power that fatigue or weakness could never allow. Investing in yourself also means cultivating curiosity and openness. The world changes constantly, and so must you. Learning a new skill, exploring ideas outside your comfort zone, or simply asking better questions sharpens your perspective and expands your capacity to solve problems creatively. Life rewards those who adapt, those who continue to grow even when the path is uncertain. By nurturing your mind, your body, and your spirit, you become a person who does not merely respond to life. You shapes it, turning challenges into opportunities and potential into reality. The compounding effect of daily investment is invisible, yet transformative. Each effort may seem small, each choice may feel isolated, but over months and years they accumulate into a presence that cannot be ignored. You become sharper, calmer, more capable, and more resilient. You begin to notice possibilities others miss and act on them with confidence and precision. By committing to yourself daily, you create a life that is not dictated by chance, circumstance, or the opinions of others, but by the deliberate growth and mastery of the person you are becoming, quietly building a future that aligns with your deepest potential. The seventh habit is serving something bigger than yourself. Most people move through life thinking the world revolves around them, measuring success by what they can take, acquire, or protect. But fulfillment is not found in accumulation, it is found in contribution. When you dedicate yourself to a purpose beyond personal gain, you tap into a current of energy that is deeper, steadier, and far more sustaining than ambition alone. Service is not about sacrifice in the way the world makes it sound. It is about aligning your life with meaning, using your talents and time as instruments that leave a ripple far beyond your immediate reach. Serving begins with awareness of need. The world is filled with struggles, often invisible, quietly shaping lives in ways we do not immediately see. To serve effectively, you must first notice the lonely neighbor, the overlooked colleague, the community struggling silently. Empathy becomes the lens through which action emerges. Service is not a grand gesture, it is the attentive response to reality. It can be as simple as sharing knowledge, offering time, or giving encouragement when someone else's hope is fading. Each act of service is a declaration that life is larger than the self, and that the smallest effort can plant a seed that grows high. In ways you may never witness, there is a transformative power in giving without expectation. When you serve solely for recognition, the act becomes hollow, tethered to the approval of others. True service is quiet, almost invisible, performed because it is the right thing to do, not because it enhances your image. It shifts your perspective, freeing you from the tyranny of comparison and competition. By contributing without attachment to reward, you begin to experience a subtle joy that cannot be measured in likes, praise, or accolades. It is a deep satisfaction that grows in the soul, a reminder that life has depth beyond achievement, and that impact is more meaningful than applause. Serving others also reflects back on your own growth. Challenges you face in service, patience tested, empathy stretched, creativity required, strengthen character and broaden perspective. It forces you to navigate real-world complexity, to act with integrity when shortcuts are tempting, and to see beyond immediate outcomes to long-term value. In the act of lifting others, you discover capabilities within yourself that would have remained dormant if life had only demanded self-preservation. Every moment spent in genuine contribution teaches lessons that no solitary pursuit could ever deliver. The practice of service creates a ripple effect that transcends the individual. One thoughtful action can inspire another, forming networks of generosity and influence that extend far beyond what you can calculate. When you help someone gain clarity, encouragement, or opportunity, you multiply potential in ways invisible at first glance. Service is a multiplier of life itself. What you give may circle back in unexpected forms, not as repayment, but as reinforcement of a world where connection, trust, and care are possible. The habit of serving becomes a quiet revolution, a force that changes both your life and the lives of others, shaping environments, communities, and futures. Finally, committing to something larger than yourself provides direction in moments of uncertainty. Life will challenge you with decisions that test priorities and patience. But when your anchor is service, your choices gain clarity. You act with purpose, not reaction. You measure value in impact, not in comfort or gain. By aligning your actions with a greater good, you step into a rhythm where your presence carries weight, where your influence matters, and where your legacy is formed not by what you possess, but by what you have courageously given away. In this alignment, life becomes not a series of random events, but a meaningful journey towards significance that is both deeply personal and infinitely shared. As you carry these habits into your days, remember that transformation is not sudden. It is the quiet accumulation of choices, repeated with attention and care. Each morning you own, each action you take, each thought you protect, each risk you embrace, each moment of calm, each investment in yourself, each act of service. These are the small, deliberate steps that create a life that feels expansive rather than accidental. The weight of change does not come from a single gesture, but from the steady unfolding of intention, the unseen work that moves mountains over time. Your life is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you navigate what arrives. When you act with clarity, when you align your energy with purpose, when you move beyond what is easy or expected, you find a strength within that no circumstance can diminish. The habits you carry are not rules imposed from outside. They are tools for freedom, ways of shaping your reality, so that even in uncertainty, you remain anchored, capable, and aware. There will be moments when the world seems to push back, when distractions, doubts, and fears whisper that your efforts are small or insignificant. But these moments are not signs to stop. They are signals that you are growing, stretching toward a version of yourself that has not yet been fully realized. Each time you choose presence over reaction, patience over panic, contribution over self-interest, you are quietly building a foundation that will hold you steady through any storm. This journey is neither fast nor easy, but it is yours entirely. The habits are not simply practices, they are declarations about the life you are willing to live, the person you are willing to become, and the impact you are willing to make. When cultivated with intention, they transform ordinary days into stepping stones, unseen moments into lasting momentum, and personal growth into a life that feels both grounded and expansive. And so, as you move forward, carry this understanding with you. The power to shape your year, your life, and your presence in the world rests not in circumstance or luck, but in the choices you make, quietly, consistently, and with integrity. Step into each day with awareness, with care, and with the calm certainty that the life you envision is built one deliberate moment at a time. In the stillness between decisions, in the effort behind unseen work, in the care you give to yourself and to others, you will discover a quiet strength that endures beyond challenge, beyond fear, beyond the fleeting applause of the world. This is not a life of perfection. It is a life of presence, depth, and purpose, shaped by habits that move you steadily toward the person you are meant to become. And in that, you will find not just achievement, but clarity, resilience, and a sense of being fully awake in the life you were meant to live.